So, man, welcome to the Stoner Boston podcast. Finished up that EU story, man. Your adventure
Oh,
across fucking Europe, bro.
that one's not supposed to be the first one, mind you.
Bro, I could not stop laughing when you said boo all over Europe. Bro, I lost it. I had to like step away from the computer for a minute.
I don't know what I said. I was high, man.
Bro, that was funny as shit.
That's my first time doing that shit. I said, I'll get ripped and tell the story like it's someone looking at me. I don't remember a thing I said besides I know what story I told.
Bro, that was like...
I don't.
That was absolutely epic. Well, if you ever want to revisit it, by all means, it's in the folder.
Oh, you finished it? Yeah.
Yeah,
I figured I'd watch
done,
it
man.
when you're done.
I cranked that shit out. That was so funny.
That way I can truly appreciate your work. It feels like I've never even did it myself. It's just going to be fresh content for me. What do you guys think about this? You ever seen this stuff? It's dispensary stuff.
Who's making that one?
Mini Buds, Illinois grown medicine, Forefront. Those are the biggest emblems on there. It says cured cannabis flower. It's pretty like, it doesn't really say much. I mean, it's got the little shit on it.
Yeah.
23.75%. I think it's pretty solid, but
Right on.
I don't know. Like, it seems like at least we're around here in Chicago, it seems like they be like downplaying shit. Like, this is more than fine for me, but they're like, in the dispensaries, they're like, just the way they make it seems like, you want the premium stuff. It's like, but do I really? It's like, I don't really think I do, and like, this is cheaper. But the way, when I'm like looking at it, it's like, no, I need the premium. But this is fucking fairly potent for me, just for some shit, just to smoke through the day.
Hell yeah. Yeah, honestly, they have done a lot of good for the industry and a lot of bad for the industry. One of the worst things that they could have done with this industry is try to tell people that THC content is the driving component of good weed. That is so false in every way. Like, you could have 12% THC, but if it has a good terpene profile and it's got other cannabinoids in it that work in concert with what's already there, it's known as the entourage effect, right? So if you have a good blend for you, then you might get completely ripped off of one that's like 10% THC.
Right.
Whereas somebody else might not. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is slightly different, and everybody's requirements are slightly different, right? So like if I get a whole bunch of limonene, and then I also have a whole bunch of what was in that one? It was limonene and pinene, I think. So those were the two major terpenes that were in it. THC level was like 27, made me paranoid as fuck. It was like, that one's not for me. So I went and tried another one that was only 14%. I got ripped. It's like, it really depends. It really depends on you. Like, I found that strains that have a lot of myrcene in them tend to do better for me, personally. Yeah. So
You're on the molecular level of sorts, huh? Like, it goes down that far with how it reacts to your body.
Yeah, it can. It really depends. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to get out of it, right? Like, if you're trying to get like a super creative burst out of it, you got to figure out which terpenes do that for you. And then when you mix that with the correct levels of cannabinoids, then it just hits right. But sometimes, it's like, you have these kind of things like this, right? It's just pure dab oil. That's all it is. So as far as like terpene profiles and all that, throw that shit right out the window. But there's no heavy dose of limonene in it for me, so I don't get it all like, oh shit, what's going on? None of that happens. But it really depends. Yeah, it really depends. It really depends.
So is that kind of why, there's the differences between when you, let's say you like eat an edible or smoke a pen, take a bowl, hit a bowl, like it's a different kind of high.
Yes.
between those things.
Yep. Yep. That is a major contributing factor to it, because when it gets filtered through the liver, when you actually eat it, it's you're gonna get different amounts of different components that are in whatever the edible was. It might be a full spectrum edible, but your liver might filter out half of it, might filter out some of it, maybe all of it. It really depends. And then have you ever had an edible and it doesn't hit you for like 2 hours?
Yep.
Yeah. See, shit like that happens. Whereas if you just smoke, it doesn't do that. So it's like, everybody's different, man. Everybody's different. I've had some edibles that kick in like 15 minutes. I've had other edibles that I try and they kick in like 2 hours.
That's true. I had some of these. I had someone grab me edibles in New York because I guess I didn't realize they're like, is it like, it's from what I was understanding, it's like, we're basically legal, but not fully there. That's what the vibe was. I don't know
sounds
what their
about right.
legalities are. I don't know what their legalities, but someone went and got me edibles. I was like, I need some. This is my opportunity before we go like further away from legal states. And he went and he gave me this bag of gummies. And they were like gummy bears. Like, this is cool. Where'd you get this from? What dispensary? He's like, oh, I just got it from a bodega. I'm like, what?
Yeah, dude.
But those got me like one of those gummy bears. He said they were like, like whatever the percentage was, it didn't really matter because like they got me just nice and level, but it was a good high. And I would take like one or two. But like I have these Wana ones or Wana, that brand, and I'll do like even 2 of those. And I'm like waiting hours. I'll just go to bed and still not really even feel anything.
No shit.
Yeah. But the bodega ones are just potent.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's that's not uncommon. Part of the reason for Wana brands, if I'm not mistaken, most of their stuff maxes out at 10%.
Yeah.
Or 10 milligrams rather. So they have, I think most of them have 5. So but it's like, it's highly regulated stuff. But when you have unregulated stuff, they're not really testing how much percentage is in it. You could have had one of those gummies out of the same pack might have had 100 milligrams in it, and another one might have had 20.
True.
That's the only. I don't know if it. See, it's weird because when you look at the black market, right? You look at it and you say, okay, is it wrong? And it's like, well, from a historic standpoint, no. It never should have been illegal in the first place.
Yeah.
But when you look at it from a consumer standpoint, they're sitting there going, well, I want to make sure that there's nothing that it's predictable, that it's reliable. It's like, you look at like the wine industry, right? It says 14% on the bottle. You can believe it's 14% in it.
Yeah.
Usually. But it's, you look at the cannabis products, and I think that right now the industry is kind of in a weird space where it's like, okay, what's right, what's wrong, what's acceptable, what's not, what's all those different things. And when I see like in New York, right? There was people that were buying buses and just driving around the city just delivering it because there was no recourse for it. They weren't getting in trouble. It was fully legal. But according to the industry regulators, they were saying, no, you can't do that. And okay, we're going to crack down on this. We're going to crack down on that. And so it's like the bodegas, they had stuff, but you're sitting there scratching your head. It's like, well, what's in it? So dude, they sent a whole bunch of that stuff over to a testing lab. There was some weird shit in some of those.
Really?
Yeah. There was mold in them. There was like, it wasn't regulated. So they ran into those kind of problems, and they're like, okay, well, how much of that is fabricated just to, scare people into going to a dispensary, and how much of it was real? It's like,
yeah,
I don't think we'll ever have the answer to that.
You got to use your discretion too. Like, I'm thinking when you say that too about it, how it should have never been that way. It's almost like it should have never been illegal to begin with, but before it became legal, it was illegal. And I feel like with most of us, when it came to like buying drugs or black market things, you kind of have to use your discretion to begin with on who you like work with. So I would figure it's not all just okay. I'm gonna buy this and I'm gonna buy this, and I expect them both to be safe because I mean, where did you go to get it? Like that matters a lot in a lot of things. Even going to get like a lighter, like where did you go? Because like that in itself might not be safe at all, and then you're just like, well, you clearly aren't thinking about who you're buying your drugs from.
It's so true, man. It's it's a weird industry, that's for sure. we've had some. So I've been monitoring a lot of companies that have been having success and which ones have not. What have they done different? What have they done the same? All those different kind of things. And I've done like a full analysis of the market, just like pretty much every other marketer in the space has done. And I think overall, we've come up with the same conclusion that it really comes down to a lot of the manufacturers and cultivators and dispensaries and all these different organizers that are in the industry right now. Essentially, they don't get to choose what people like or don't like, and they're still in that mentality of, oh well, somebody told me about this kind of product and it's, oh yeah, this is going to take off. And then all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of, seltzers that are hitting the market. And it's like, well, are they even selling? Are people even buying these? I had one. They're terrible. Like they're not good. It's like, I understand supplying for a need, but supplying just for supplying doesn't make any sense. And I think that's where they can really learn from the consumer market. Like, what are they even buying? Like you were saying, you're buying that, what was the name of that thing? It was, the little bag.
The bag?
Yeah, the one you were just showing, the flower.
Oh, I was like, what conversation? Mini bud stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were trying to push you towards buying something else. Why? Like, why can't they just be like, oh, okay, that's what the consumer wants?
Yeah.
So I think that's the struggle that's happening in the industry right now. They have no idea where the hell they stand. Straight up. They're just guessing. So that's essentially where the marketing data and all that kind of stuff comes in. That's what
I hear ya.
That's what we're doing. But yeah,
it's
man.
It seems like it's not in like a bad way, but it's, as far as discovery, it's kind of a wild west for everybody, even the people that are that have the most knowledge, but just like how to integrate it into this like society as a more normal thing.
Yeah. I think a big part of that struggle is the fact that so many people are into weed. It's like you can't pinpoint. There's no target audience, so to speak, right? Because it's like you might go to a country show and 20% of them smoke weed. You might go to another country show and 80% of them smoke weed. And you're sitting there like, like how do you market to that? So it's a weird industry, that's for sure. So you got the brand AdamOnEarth, and you're doing. So what is the main goal of AdamOnEarth?
Shit, man.
Yeah.
That's what we do here. We're gonna do a workshop. All right.
Yeah, let's get it all, man.
Damn. Main goal. That's really something I've been working on. I guess let's say what is it, like perfecting whatever it might be. I think that it sounds like lame, but it doesn't sound lame because I think it's awesome. I just want to have fun. I think I want to create fun, out of the box content, and be able to make a lot of money doing that, so I can continue to do the same kind of content, but also bring my friends along for the ride as often as I possibly can the whole way through, and also make music. That's the brand.
I respect that, man. I dig it.
If I was a millionaire, I swear to God, My girlfriend would just I'd probably have to make like another house for her, but like I swear to God, otherwise, if I was a millionaire, I'd just invite all my friends to live in like a big fucking house. You take that corner, you take that corner, you take that corner. I mean, hippie, hippie and Adam, you guys are still working for me. You're paid. Just you guys take that corner, Everyone come on, and we're just chilling. Get a chef. We're food's made. Everyone's just relaxing, having a good time, living in peace, minding our fucking business, being left alone. That's what I would do. So
I dig it,
let's
man.
just
Yeah, I can
that's the
respect
goal,
that.
I guess.
I can respect that, man. Yeah, so like content creation as a whole has been like weird since the beginning. Like the whole concept of it. It was like, oh, so it's TV? Well, no. So it's interaction? No. So it's social media? Well, no, not really. How do you see it, man? Like what like when someone says content creator to you, what do you envision?
I think content creator is like the best. Content is like kind of like I don't know. It feels like a corporate word, but I still accept it because it's like that's what we do, absorb as content. I feel like it's a good broad term for any type of creation that is utilizing technology, especially, or being put out, use some type of media, like not just, like hand drawing or hand painting. I feel like that usually gets categorized as always as like art, but art can also be content creation just depending on, I feel, the medium at which you create. So like I feel like, if you're on the computer, creating an image that maybe came from a picture that you took, but is now digitized, but you're making it, and now that's going to be used for like an advertisement. That's content. It's like something being like art being utilized to and produced to use for something else, like promotion, or to spread like a wider consciousness about something, or like an ad, or just to be enjoyed at all, but you're utilizing the reach of social media. I think that's a big part of it, where it's more content because you want people, you're putting it out there for people to absorb it and take it in. That's your concern, or else you wouldn't have bothered to do it.
Respect that. So you got anything to add on the art questions there?
No, but I wanted to know what it was like when you first got into content creation. Was it hard? Was it easy because you have all the music background?
I think it was easy once I got to it, but for me, and I think it's what a lot of like people, and the coming into it from where I am with like from the music side, I think they are as well. um it's like the nerves, you gotta like it, like the mental side of it. It's very different to me, like going, like putting myself out there and like, doing like what a lot of people do, where they're singing or doing vocals, like being that intimate. It felt like, though I've done it plenty of times on stage around like tons of people, uh it felt like if I was doing that just a cappella, like no mic and one person watching, like to do it on the internet, that's what it felt like at first. It's like, because there's no one there but everyone's there. Because the potential is vast.
Yeah.
Like right now it feels weird because you're literally doing it for no one, but in your head that whatever you do, once you hit that post button, that could be big. That could be your biggest fucking show that you played in your life. You just don't know it yet. And that's what's scary. And it has been. That's what's wild about it. So I think the mental part of like knowing like it's sink or swim right now. You have no control. So if it does pop off, you better be ready for how people react to what you put out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, man. So what do you think about the platform of choice? You seem to have chosen Twitch, and I'm curious as to I know that, naturally it lets you explore like gaming, and it gives you kind of a real freedom of what you can do. didn't used to, you know, it was before when it was just in TV. It's all games, right? And then it started to kind of morph into this whole construct of its own in a sense. And I think the content creators that are on the platform have really driven most of that change, which is kind of cool to see because it's like, it kind of actually lives up to the term community driven platform. You know, whereas something like YouTube or any of those, it's like it's you know, it's a little bit more commercial, but it's still really effective. It's really cool, and a lot of people use it. You know, so what drove you to Twitch? What made you want to use that one?
At the time, I was super deep into video games as a whole and like collecting, especially. So it was more from a like recommendation, and some just people just were telling me, oh, you should check out Twitch. Just the people, I guess, that were gamers that knew that I was into that stuff. And I eventually checked it out because people in my house I was living at were watching Dr. Disrespect. So that's what made the like click as like an ex wrestling fan, but like an obsessed wrestling fan at the time. I saw that click. I made that click right away. You know, like that's tight. This guy's doing it the cool way, because I knew about streaming and all that shit, you know, but I didn't have a reason why I gave a fuck about it, you know, like, and I was like, that's cool. You can be somebody else. You could, this is like, it's theater. It's like, it's your time to do whatever the fuck you want. You take the floor, and as long as there's people watching, it's a performance. So like, I ran with that and made a character and did a character Black Mario and did that thing. And you guys, of course, know about it, but for anyone that might listen, yeah, and that was fun. And it really started as that. It was just cool to be a different something, you know, like create a character and like build some really loosely bound together lore and stuff like that. You know, it's just for fun. It's just like, you know, having like, you know, like, I don't know, if you told a kid like, yo, we're gonna make your own TV show, bro. Like, you told me that when I was a kid, I'd be like, let's fucking go. So that was my reaction when I saw Dr. Disrespect, and I got the idea about Twitch, and it just was clicked. It was like, I'm gonna make my own TV show. It's gonna be my own character. I'm gonna do my own shit, you know, but I like games, so I'm gonna incorporate that in it. It just made sense to me. And then I evolved into what I'm doing now, which is a display of, I think, just myself as a whole, which is still definitely has video games in it. So like, it's more like, I think it's more like this. So since the like changed and kind of went more to like just being Adam, before Adam was inside Black Mario, now Black Mario's inside Adam.
Yeah, I like that. That's deep.
Yeah. Because I think Black Mario was I didn't really like, I mean, I knew myself, but I didn't really like, you know, I knew myself internally, but I never knew myself like externally, you know. And like Black Mario, doing that character wasn't really doing a character. It was just me being like pretty free and lenient with how much I was vulnerable with other people compared to how I usually am, you know. And that's what allowed me to be more free with my personality as a whole. You know, it was like, okay, no one's really giving me shit. Because when I was younger, a lot of people give me shit, you know, like for whatever, liking metal, or, you know, being the kid that wore tight pants, you know, the kid that had a mohawk. You know, like everyone was always an asshole, you know. So I just was like, I don't need to show people my full self. But Twitch kind of made it feel a little safe again to do that. So that's cool. What got me to do it.
Honestly, I can't think of a better reason to want to do a show. Like that does make sense. You're right. You know, it's one of those things. It's like when you're a kid, you've got that freedom to just say, dude, I want to do whatever, you know, and you might come up with a concept or an idea, and it's like, you know what, I want to do that. But you're a kid, so it's like, how do I do that? You know, so you work with what you got. You know, maybe you got like you know, you got one of those old school phones with like the really shitty camera on it. You're like, fuck it, I'm gonna make a show. You know? Did you ever do like stop motion shit or any of that stuff when you were younger?
No, I wish I did. probably be way further along. But no, I didn't do nothing as a kid. Nothing as a kid with media stuff. I just like definitely used my imagination a lot, but it was not as much as now. I mostly like played with action figures a lot. So I wish that I would have, see, because I would if I had the cameras in there, I would have definitely filmed it. But no.
Nah, that's cool, man. Yeah, it's
We made
Man.
a couple.
yeah, we did a couple of stop motions.
Really, that's sweet.
Yeah, those are fun, man. They're fun. We did we set them up, and then we were like, oh, you know what? We're gonna get a whole bunch of clay, and we're just gonna make this thing that just keeps growing, you know. And it was cool. It was cool. You know, we had fun with it.
A lot of weed involved.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
That's sweet. That one would be interesting on mushrooms to like just play with clay in general.
Yeah.
That would sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be on Amazon a little later ordering clay.
Hey man, yeah, if you're gonna get the stuff, make sure that if you're gonna find clay, my suggestion is if you want it to remain malleable, make sure that you put that in the search query, because otherwise, if you go on Amazon and you just type in clay, it's all baking clay, like like almost all the results that I saw on the first page, it was all baking clay. So I forget exactly what we had to type in. I think we had to type in
I don't know.
clay. Like stop motion claymation, something like that. We had to actually like specify what kind of clay we wanted. There was hundreds of kinds.
I don't know why I'm just thinking like I like meme sense like you have to specify what clay, and then you just like you add your typing. It's like no, not clay Aiken, just like normal clay.
Is he still doing music?
Don't be rude. I'm sure he is.
I haven't seen it. Well, I mean, I never really got into that kind of music, so I know who it is for sure.
I'm sure he is. He's got it. I mean, yeah, I'm not necessarily interested, but I hope he is for, artist's sake.
Yeah, he was doing, as far as I know, dude was making a ton of music. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still in my 90s rut of music. I listen to it all the time, man. Alice in Chains, Deftones.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, man. I love that stuff.
90s is hot. The 90s is hotter than ever now.
Is it?
the stuff from the 90s. Yeah, like everything from the 90s is what the young I feel old, but the younger generation is about. Like the style, like it's all
my old clothes are cool now.
Yeah.
So.
But that makes us cool. We're kind of like Jedis, I don't feel like we're depicted as like, how we depict old people. Like we're like old and mean and shit. We're like cool and laid back. Cooler. Yeah. Let us pass down some knowledge of the good golden days, and Ninja Turtles and shit.
Yeah, for sure.
The good iterations, the original source material.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that with the way that media is consumed at this point in history, it would be really tough to make a show like Ninja Turtles cartoon. You think so?
Yeah. I don't think they're interested in it. I wish they would do more hand-drawn stuff still.
That would be sweet. They had like, it looked awesome.
Yeah, I guess Disney does do, like they've brought back like what was it, like I think like Chippendales or no, DuckTales. That was hand drawn. So they're doing stuff like that.
No way.
Still, Cartoon Network does. They did like a reboot of some shows, but Disney doesn't play around anymore really with hand drawn. It doesn't seem like, unless it's super smaller projects.
Huh. Have you seen any?
Which I think is a shame.
Yeah, the hand drawn stuff. I mean, takes talent to do that. They used to use,
Mhm.
I don't even know what kind of equipment they used to use. I think it was like, it looked like one of those projectors that you used to have in the classroom where they display all the stuff on the wall, you know?
Yeah,
I think
perhaps
that's
that's
what the
where it
machine
started.
resembled.
Yeah, where it started.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's times times have changed as far as tech so much. It's wild. Like, have you seen any of the new AI stuff that they're doing?
Oh yeah, I've been
Shit.
taking peeks. It's there.
Oh man. What do you think? Have you messed around with like Chat GPT or any of those things?
Is that the one where you can give it command it to like type shit for you, like
Yeah.
type up like projects and stuff?
Yep, it does that. It also the most interesting thing that I have found out about it so far is the amount of time it saves for repetitive tasks that need to be done on a computer. Because if you type
Mm.
in something like, you know, okay, let's say you got to build, you have a whole bunch of random data in front of you, and you say, okay, I need to organize this into a spreadsheet. There used to be data entry specialists that would do those things. Now they can literally just paste that list, tell it exactly how to format it, kick it out, and then paste it back into their spreadsheet, and they're done. They didn't have to do anything.
I feel you.
That's
Yeah,
sweet.
that's pushing. That's pushing. Yeah, when you put it like that, I it makes me envision a world not too far away where it'll it's something so big that everyone wants to fucking argue about like usual now, but it's going to be such an insignificant thing in like what, maybe 5 years or less, where we're just going to open up fucking Microsoft Word or whatever the fuck, and we're just going to type a couple commands, and it's going to type out something specifically that we need, formatted, boom, cool, all right, print it, put it on the holographic screen. All right, we're done. Like those little tasks are gonna like those things that take an hour or two are gonna take like just as much as downloading. How like downloading it, our times to download because of the internet now is like it's shrunk, and so same with productivity when you work on your computer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can do. See, I've been studying AI systems and quantum computing for a very long time. I've been watching it and seeing exactly how it works, why it works, which is still up for debate. Then you have a whole bunch of questions around, should we implement this tech right now? Are we as humans able to actually comprehend the gravity of the situation of adding something that can make decisions on our behalf? Is that a good idea to integrate into society when it is that much smarter than the human is? But they still say, no, it's okay. We've programmed it to be safe. But how do you know that it's safe if that computer is in fact smarter? And would it have would it have its own interests in mind to say, well, I need to work around that restriction? Because that's exactly what we've been training it to do. Work around a certain restriction, give it a command, and it will figure out a solution to whatever restriction we gave it in the command. That's essentially what we're doing. We're literally training it to do exactly those things. So, do you think that we can handle it?
That's a deep question, but I don't know. This is just the first thing that comes to mind, and it might be deep and a little dark. So,
We got, man.
but oh man, I think that if they're going to work on creating, like this near sentient thing or things, this concept in itself, it's going to basically be its own free thinking. Like, is it going to have a personality? Like that'd be a thing to wonder. Is it going to have its own specific personality and things? So that way it will make its own choices and decisions. emotionally, you know, like how does this shit work? You know, what are they trying to mimic? Because if I feel like you tell me they're trying to mimic like artificial intelligence, then that's a big scope of things, you know, like so you have to add emotions into it, you have to, you know, because that, like, can you just make a mind without emotion? Because you can also do a lot of fucked up things without emotion, like without giving a shit. Like I'm sure a robot without emotion could want to kill its owner, you know, just as much as a robot with emotions would. That'd be one of my worries in it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable concern, to be honest. It's I don't know if have you seen some of the stuff that they've been doing at Boston Dynamics?
Yeah, at first it didn't seem real.
What the fuck, man?
Dude, those people, where, I mean, they look like it looks, I don't know, man. My mind's just been in some interesting areas and going places. I'm just gonna come here out and say it. They look kind of sketchy. Like they're getting, you know, like, like in movies when like they say like, oh, they're getting you ready for shit that's coming. Like Boston Dynamics and the way they present those things, it looks like they're like, oh, look at this, it's a little doggy, you know, like it's a little dog robot. Oh, look, these robots are dancing and doing backflips. But in reality, in like 10, 15 years from now, those are going to be the fucking super soldiers on the fucking battleground, you know, fucking like destroying other countries on our behalf. I don't know. That's just a weird vision I had, but I feel like why do you need a robot that can lift that much and that can backflip and all that shit? Yes, for maybe some disabled people, it would be amazing, but how many of those motherfuckers do you really need? Like, how many of those goddamn robots are going to be chopping down trees? You know, like, do we want them to be chopping down trees? Why would they, you know, like that's, you know, like what are they going to be doing when they get implemented into society? Because the modern family doesn't need a robot that can fucking lift excess of a human body. So like, it's like, what are you doing with these things?
Yeah. I think honestly, I think that the concern that you raised there is probably one of those things where not a lot of people are saying it, but they're thinking it. You know?
Okay.
So I can appreciate you saying that for sure, because it's one of those. It's a possibility, which is it, which before it wasn't. So it's like it's one of those things where society really has to go around this concept of, okay, so there are some regulatory boards that govern AI restrictions and best policies and good practices and what kind of ethics should we follow and all of those different there are organizations that work on those concepts. The question is, okay, that's cool. You can have an organization, right? Like you look at the cannabis industry in New York, for example. They had restrictions too. But what were people doing? You know?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, so we're currently society seems to be really heavily relying on the shoulder of, it's fine, they'll do the right.
Yep. That's never the way to go.
Yeah, man.
No. You can never trust us to do the right thing.
It's a weird, what a time to be alive. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, it sucks because I did want to see the point where we'd start going into like sci-fi movie level shit. It always sucks because it's always just like there's dystopian sci-fi movies and there's also really just cool like utopian sci-fi movies. That's what we're always battling the whole fucking way to this cool like Jetsons world.
Yeah, man. Yeah, what do you think about AI? Think it's
I think it's cool. Not a big fan of the AI art. That makes me a little sad. I feel like I'm
No.
but okay.
Yeah. AI art. What do you think about that? You messed around with it at all?
I'm neutral on it because same thing. You know, there's two sides to it. and I've seen and heard some artists talk about how it could, it can aid, like let's say, like you were talking about, even, you tell it to do something that's just a super, super easy thing. Give me a couple, like if you're making some dark art or something, give me a couple skulls on the ground, all right. Now I can focus on the figure itself and I'll blend it all. I can see it like that, but I think there's always going to be people that like abuse it. But I had one thought on the side of like to support it. There's a Not everyone is a creator, and this AI thing can be used for both good and bad. And I think it's already at that point. But not everyone's a creator. Not everyone has like the vision to create something. They don't even know fucking how to like speak it into words what that would be. I've noticed just from meeting a lot of creators and stuff. And so like I feel that AI art opens that doorway for people who have never been able to like kind of see things the same way as us creators. It allows them to do so and let something kind of guide them and help them in that process, because it helps them tap into their own imagination, and then the computer or whatever, the AI processes it into a visual form that they can't necessarily do. But I think it's getting abused because there's a lot of us creators who are just now using it in place of actually just doing what we already can do without it, which is create. And we're just trying to write it off. Not us, but there are people that are just trying to write it off, like, I did this, or I thought it up. Is that good enough? It's like they'll specify. And I feel that's the difference. Is most of the people that like use AI art definitely are down to say, it's AI art, but they're not willing to specify that they imagined it. You gotta like if I tell an artist, like to make a t-shirt, and I'm like, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. It's still not gonna come out exactly how I would draw it because I'm not good at it. But they're good at it. So they create it and they give it to me. And I'm like, that's great. But do I say, oh, I made that t-shirt, like, but it's just aided by this guy. It's like, no, it was my idea, but that thing made it. And I think that's where a lot of people don't want to just say it's AI art. Like, you didn't do shit. You just had an idea, just like the rest of us. The only difference is something was basically used to make it reality, and it wasn't a person anymore. You didn't use a person. You used a computer now. But like, make the distinction. Like, that's the important thing. Make the distinction. I'm not going to say names, but I've seen a few people that like, it really bothers me as a creator to like see people like trying to act like they had any hand more than just having a thought in their head, and then they like did that. It's like, no, you didn't do that. And it's sourced from other things that already exist,
Yep.
so fuck off. You basically like just copied, you basically took a bunch of different Wikipedia posts from on the same subject or different subject, and just put them all together, and you just took it as your own, basically.
Yeah, I can see that. So what do you think? All right, so then I would add the argument of this, and allow me to play advocate, because most marketing places do this.
Yeah.
Which is they will buy a whole bunch of templates, a whole bunch of preset things in some format. How is that any different from paying an AI to do an art? And where do you draw the line between art and commercialism?
Preset, like preset images.
Sure,
Pre-drawn images.
Yeah. So let's say somebody opens up an API and they connect an AI art to it, and they have it automatically say, okay, let's do all of these different types of images. Let's put a price tag on them, and someone can buy it in bulk. Now, at what point does it become commercialism versus art? Because in theory, the idea was created from an initial prompt, which that person came up with. Is that still art? And are they selling art? Or is
I don't
that
know.
pure commercialism?
I think that's definitely commercialism.
I would tend to agree. I would tend to agree with that. What do you think about that kind of like when you paint something, you're actually sitting there, you have the paint in front of you, and you start creating an image that wasn't there before, it didn't exist before, now you're painting it. Is the keyboard the paintbrush in that scenario? Because one could argue that back in the 14th century, right? You had there was horrible plagues. There was a ton of people were completely broke. They had next to hopeless, right? And you could argue that that happened to a lot of people during COVID. What came out of the 14th century was the printing press. And now society has adopted a brand new technology, but it replaces jobs. Well, not necessarily. I think it just enhanced what they could already do. Now, so when we look at AI, is that now our printing press as we come out of COVID, as we come out of global uncertainty? It really is like, is it the new paintbrush? Is this the paint? Does the keyboard in that scenario and access to that AI algorithm, does that give you the new paintbrush? Is that society's new adopted paintbrush as a whole? Or does it fall into the category of commercialism? And it's really difficult to discern it because it can be both. Just as you could pick up a paintbrush and start painting a picture, you can now go to a keyboard and complete a task.
I agree with that.
It really becomes one of those, it's a philosophical argument, I think, at its core. The entirety of AI being adopted into society at all.
Should mention Dolly. I said about the end of the
Yes. Okay.
This is really funny.
All right. So I went on to the DALL-E platform. It's the OpenAI art generation platform. It's kind of clever. It's cool. Now, I typed in, will AI take over the world? I typed in a whole bunch of prompts like that and just wanted to see what kind of imagery it would give me. And when I said, show me a terrifying picture of AI taking over the world, I shit you not, every single image that was portrayed of the AI, which was in robot format, was a woman. All of the pictures it generated were resembling the female.
I like that, but I wonder there's something deeper to that.
I think so. There's got to be. It has. So they feed these things a whole bunch of natural language processing. They teach it psychology. They teach it all of these things. It knows a lot of these things. I don't know if they did that with the DALL-E platform. I would imagine they did. You know, if you're trying to incorporate art and you're trying to say, hey, computer, make art, I think it would have to have some philosophical understanding of those concepts.
I think that this, maybe there are people who have thought this as well, but I don't think most people even think this way to get that far into what I'm about to say, which is I'm sure we have, but I don't think people realize, because they haven't gotten to some people haven't gotten to that point in their process of their life to expand their consciousness to then, you think so much deeper I feel like when you pass a certain point. And I don't think people are thinking about the fact of all, which can go back into what you're saying about, should we really trust AI? Because a lot of people don't really know how far your brain can go. And so think about let's just make a basis. I don't know if it's true that, like, the Dalai Lama had an immense, like fucking powerful brain, and he could like see things through on an immense level, maybe even make predictions of things just because of his cognitive level. So if we're going to create AI, which is basically mimicking, a human brain and human processes, we're not going to make it mimic fucking just, some undereducated, like intelligence level. We're gonna swing for the fucking fences, and like we're probably gonna create eventually a well enlightened being that is just simulated through AI. And I think that's where we get in trouble, because that's if it can start juggling, its ethics and stuff based on actually being able to think about things far out enough to almost just literally predict it like an oracle, then it might start to, pull back on its ethics because it knows the long ball is the smarter option. Like it can think things out to like precise calculations of like, yeah, this is going to happen because it's that developed in intelligence. But I think that's what people don't should be like thinking about, is like, if they're really going to be making AI and keep perfecting it, then they're going to make something that is far more like, I think, emotionally intelligent, like ethically sound, and like just probably a more pure person than even, a normal human, like straight out the womb could be, with the corruptions of society. So I feel like that's where we get in trouble, and that's what people should worry about. And if anything, if you're scared about, the rapture that comes from AI, then get your fucking life together and start being a good person, and then you probably will be spared, because I don't think a conscious and caring being that cares about, the preservation of life, which is the only thing that AI could care about, is not going to do a clean sweep. It's going to do a choice eradication, and then like, because I don't, like that's ethically, you're not gonna wipe out a whole population of something. That's not the way to do something if you care about preservation. You're gonna kill off the fucking rodents. You're gonna kill off the pests, and then you let things that are gonna contribute to keeping the ecosystem safe and pure and nurtured. You're gonna keep them because you got to keep shit going. So sorry for the rant, but that's what I think we should be scared of when it comes to AI, especially if they're going to Terminator us. They're not going to wipe us clean. I don't think.
Yeah, man. It's there, I've seen a common argument is, so do you hate ants? It's like, well, no, I don't hate ants. Okay, they're on the sidewalk. Do you move out of their way? Or do you just keep walking? And
walk over them, but
it's like, how is AI going to view us?
I like that. And that's wild.
I mean, ultimately that's where that's I think the safest way that we can look at it, to be cautious of it. I mean, there might be better examples, but I think as most people, it's really hard to wrap your head around what AI is. It's like, it's not a computer. It's beyond a computer. It's like, it's not, we sit here and we do a podcast and we have screens and we have computer hardware and we have all of those things. AI is not that. It is a completely different construct. And we're only at AOL 1.0. We just got mailed the CD. That's where we're at. Like, where's this thing going? It's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. So that what do you got? Did you have one for that? So one of the things that I'm trying to figure out. So you see AI being integrated into content creation. Can you foresee yourself finding ways of leveraging AI for your own?
I guess depending on what department, it's being used in.
Right.
And I guess how deep, would it be able to be utilized? Because I think like way down the line, at some point, totally, you could use it to, you could see it for like editing being really useful, for like if you can do so, it can do that type of task, like have it like literally just crop the frame for every like every file that has this face in it, like do the same crop, everyone, like that shit would
Yep.
be kind of tight, and it's just all done.
Yeah, I mean now those kind of functions exist, but they are in very dare I say primitive formats. So the way
Oh,
that it
yeah?
works, yeah, so you can build a template within, say Adobe or something like that, and then you can automate a task. The downside is you still need a human element because certain frames are not centered the same. Certain it may not be able to follow a repetitive task unless you have been completely linear in the development of whatever content you need to edit.
Yeah.
So the AI element would figure out where the person is in the frame and fix all of those types of issues. So it's like you can definitely take it a step further when you integrate that type of a system. Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, even if you've seen, I don't know if you use iPhone or not, but I just saw, at least in the iPhone, how they have, you can like take out the backgrounds to shit now. So it just blacks it all out. So almost like so if I wanted, let's say we're making a thumbnail, it'll just take out the whole background. I can just send it to just be edited. That's pretty fucking cool. Which I didn't do that for you, but sorry. Now that I'm thinking about it.
All good, man. I've learned. I mean, I've again out of necessity, I learned how to do all of those things. Because when I first started, when my career started, I was doing. I was in a band, but I also did other stuff, and most of the stuff I ended up doing was web development. So I would build different websites, and then I would make, and then as necessity grew, I also learned how to do more shit. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay, so now I have to build this website, but now I also have to learn how to do JavaScript. Oh, okay, now that I know that, I know how to do this. So, okay, I need that function. I better learn how to do this. And that, here we are almost 20 years later, me doing this stuff. So it's like, I get the idea that AI is going to replace all of that. All of it. So I can foresee how it's going to affect the industry that I was in.
Yeah.
So the question, I guess, is what do you think is going to happen to content creation? What do you think? Is it going to morph? Is it going to change? Are people going to say, I prefer that kind of content? Look at that.
Oh, man.
That's a weird one, right?
I was actually watching Mr. Beast, and I've been looking at his content just find, like, not to say I want to be like Mr. Beast, I don't, but just for influence. He's the biggest guy doing it. So I just watch his stuff, and I like to just, and I was checking out his websites and stuff, and just seeing how his online presence and stuff. And I was like, it really made me feel like kind of it's in that dystopian area again. I don't know. I mean, you just gotta, I don't know. You gotta always fucking watch your back with this tech shit. It can go south really fast, I feel, in it. But like, it made me think about like how it's all laid out. I feel like that's the future of it. It's just like, even though he's doing a lot of rad and good for people as well, like just that concept, a lot of people replicating that. Furthermore, it's just like this super fluffy content that just is like really like just like over the top shit, like that's just gonna captivate people forevermore, like. And then you're gonna, and then you're gonna have the other type of people like that are just like, nah, I don't watch TV, and it'll be for us, it'll be obvious why. I feel like TV is gonna become like that, where it's just like all short form. And I would love to at least in my dreams at least discover an alternate timeline, if it doesn't happen, where we start watching TV vertical because of how like reels and TikTok are like super. I would love to see like a reality where we start just doing that. Maybe, you know, like, know how they try new things for a while, like the first TV, you know, where they start doing content like on the news is like that, and everything's just like standing like straight up. I would love to see that. I don't know, you know, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I wouldn't be like, if it did, if there was a Samsung, you know, like TV and they started like airing, you know, the news in 2 formats or something. That'd be cool.
I like
That's
that.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. That would
Like
be
3D. Like they were trying to make 3D where it didn't work, but like they tried it. It
Yep.
wasn't there yet, but
Yep. Yeah, it was. I think it was LG came out with a phone, and I was like, I have to try this. I picked one up. It was a glasses, no glasses needed, 3D screen.
really, that's cool.
Let's go. You know, it was an interesting implementation. Yeah, which one you got?
How do you incorporate your content creation?
Oh, that's good. Well, I'm pretty much high all the time. Some of my greatest discoveries and some of my greatest feats of 2022, every single moment of that, I was fucking high as a bat. And so how I utilize it, man, you're gonna have me giving away some of my secrets. I'll give away one. This might be really, I don't know. I don't fucking talk to people, so I don't know what the fuck how your reaction's gonna be. But anyways, okay. So often what I like to do, if there was any type of like process or ritual moments of usage, I like to wake up because I'm usually not that high when I wake up, but I try and be high while I'm asleep. But I wake up and lately what I like to do, I like to smoke some flower. Right upon waking up, I throw on some like binaural beats. I usually like low frequency, just like pulses and shit. And I'll go whole ass days. Like I've probably been on that shit for the last 3 days. So like I'll just go whole days with that. So I usually wake up and turn that on, and then like I get high, and then after I smoke, I'll do some yoga, and then I try and allow myself to relax because it's early, so I'm still kind of like sleepy, and I try and let myself about when I'm done with that kind of just like go into this place. It's like it's half awake, half asleep, and I'm just like totally unconcerned with anything, just like warped into a whole different place in my head. And from there, it's just like that's where I feel like all the ideas float around, and like, or there's people talking to me. Well, I don't know, either or maybe both. And that's kind of where the like in certain moments is like if there's a process, if like, like this idea actually fucking sucks, get rid of it, or like this actually was a great idea, how could you expand on that, and it just like a connection is made, and then I'll just like come out of it and just be like, write that down, and then like try and like kind of like lay down again and just like, okay, here we go, and just like and it just like all this shit kind of like just starts spewing. And that doesn't happen as much anymore because I don't have like that much time to be fucking laying around. But ideally, if I can get like one or two good things out of it, that's ideal. And so that's how I utilize it. It's at best it's fun if nothing comes from it. And optimally, it's very useful.
Yeah, man. So I gotta ask, best content creation story or event that occurred?
Out of me?
Yeah.
Shit.
Putting you on the spot, man.
You're
That one's tough.
You're asking me the good questions, but the thing is, like, I have like I'm not apologizing for it. I'm just warning anyone that listens to this. I have a very weird sense of humor. So you know, I'll preface with this. I know what the fuck I am. I didn't ask to be in this fucking body, and all I do is I just fucking have fun in this body. Well, I got it. So here's the story. My first time on Twitch, like one of my first times, you know, like really like putting myself out there, full blown going at it. And first one, we got the Discord going, we got the Twitch going, everything's rocking. We got the bots in check, everything's feeling good. And I go on stream. This is probably my first first couple weeks in the streaming. And boom, N bombs. Porn. Just we get fucking hit in Discord with all this fucking like troll shit. Like this is like big like atom bomb level like trolling. They did a good job. I applaud them for their viciousness. They were fucking coming at it, and the best part is they were genius enough to check. At that point I was so fresh at it. We didn't disable the speech to text, and so like they would send everything as speech to text. So people were telling me, my friends were telling me, oh yeah, this shit was speaking out loud from certain people's phones that had Discord open and shit.
Dude, that sucks.
That's so messy.
That absolutely sucks.
And I'm only laughing because like if you know, like I always tell people when they come in my chat, they troll me. It's like, yo, like you need to come with it. If you're gonna be, you need to be the best you can be at everything. And if you're gonna be a troll, you better fucking go for it because you're putting a lot on the line. And they fucking did it because I was like, you know, whatever, dude. You know, the shit happens. But you know, being a performer, you know, you have like trolls and like people that want to fuck with you. So it's like whatever. But holy crap, they really brought it. It was in my chat, just going, and also simultaneously in my Discord at the same time with the voice to text, the text to voice shit going on. It was a nightmare. And I just remember like a couple of friends coming in my chat, like, the Discord, look at the Discord. And I'm just like kind of brushing it off because I'm like, nah, I don't want to like break the vibes. I don't want to look at the Discord. They're like, no, the chat. I think someone called me or something. The chat's hacked. And then like, but we got it sorted. I was well protected. We had like a lot of homies that instantly I made mods of the channel. That's how like Doughboy became a mod. That's how like a lot of them became mods because I was being really stubborn because I'm still a small streamer, but I was even smaller, you know. Then I was like, I don't need mods. I'm not gonna fuck mods. I'll be my own mod. And then that happened after, you know, a long time of just doing my own thing. And I was like, that's when Buddha was like, sure, you don't need mods anymore. I was like, fuck you.
Damn, man, that's rough. Wow. I'm sorry that was one of your first experiences doing that, man. That sucks.
Hey, I was talking shit to whoever it was the whole goddamn time on stream. So don't you apologize to me.
Okay.
I'm about that smoke. That's what people don't realize is I might look chill, but I'm in a goddamn metal band. I exist in chaos very often.
That's fair, man. That's fair.
Internet terrifies me.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not don't do this content shit.
Yeah, to put it delicately. That's good stuff, man. Oh man. All right, so on the road, I've heard many stories.
Of who?
From you on the road. You doing stuff on the road.
What?
Stories.
From me?
Yeah. All the stuff that you stuff that you shared on the stream.
I'm just making sure you're not hearing it from anyone else because that will worry me.
Oh no, they're fine. No. No, I've heard a ton of stuff that you have shared on that stream since you were doing Black Mario. That was like even then you shared a couple of them. And it was like, all right, what's the best one? On the road. What were you like? You know what? That is, I'm never going to forget that shit. What do you got?
Man, gonna throw me on the spot. Maybe I should have looked at the questions. No, I'm prepared. Though I don't have one. I promise you I'll have one in 2 seconds. But first, if I may, it's funny you asked that because tonight on Twitch, and I probably will do it next week. So for anyone watching, come back for the next one. I'm going to be doing tour stories tonight on Twitch. Tonight it's going to be with Nick, who was in Oceano with me during when we wrote Contagion and Incisions. So we're going to pull tour passes and talk about some stories. So
Nice.
I'm going to try and pull a story out that is related to Nick.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, I got one. So I like it because I'm kind of a neat freak too, but he's the neat freak. So he would always clean the van. And the band started to like mess with him about it. Cause like if you would like say anything like, oh, like, you know, say anything, he's gonna do a full he would do a full run through and just clean the whole fucking van. So it was like you don't really want to trigger him because he's not letting you in there, you know, so you're not gonna be able to get your shit or it's gonna be on the ground. He's not, you know, it's like, so you really don't want to trigger him. But they started just doing it to fuck around with him. And one time they said something, and I don't know what it was. I think they said like they lost something like some food in there, some shit like that, and it just like threw him into like overdrive, and he just started worrying about like bugs and all this shit, and like they were just like losing their mind, and then he just triggered it. It triggered the cleanup, and it's a lot. It's a lot. Like I don't even know how to really describe it. Like I don't know. I'm pretty sure there was like on a different occasion, like somehow it was like he had a vacuum. Like hey, can we borrow the vacuum from the venue with in a van? That looks weird. It's like why that just looks weird because I'm not understanding like why don't we just go to like a car wash and do this, you know? Like I feel like when you're like on tour, you sometimes forget when you're like being in a smaller vehicle, or even when you can walk. Sometimes you forget you don't have to stay at the venue all day. I think like you can leave. You just have to be there to play. That's where and it was like, oh, we could just go to a car wash and just do this there. We don't have to do a full rundown of our van in front of the line. That's the part. So this motherfucker is here pulling out piss bottles and like throwing them out while the whole line of the whole fucking venue is like getting ready to go in. This is pre-doors time. So he's like pulling out piss bottles and shit. We look like the biggest scumbags in the world. He's got our whole like life on display to the whole show. Yeah.
Oh man, that sucks.
At any cost, he would do it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I think he's a lot better now, but he's not on tour anymore, so it's probably for the better.
I dig that, man. See if we can find a good one here. We got a whole bunch of them.
Ooh, an arsenal.
I mean, it's just like what we tried to do was we weren't sure what the hell we talk about. Right? You know, it could be anything. But I also like to make sure that I've got some cool questions that I thought of. You know, it's like, oh yeah, that would be a cool one. All right. Oh yeah. So let me do this one. You can ask that one, and I'll see if there's another one. Let's see.
How do you think your relationship between creation and cannabis will evolve in the future? And how is AdamOnEarth self?
You know, these are really making me think about myself here. I think that it is evolving it, and my best reference of that is I was watching this show. It was on, I think it's either on Netflix or Hulu, one of the streaming services, and it was a show. I think it was Khalees. I think that's the musical artist, but she hosts this show because she's also a chef. I didn't know that. where they cook with. I think it's called Cooking with Cannabis. I think that's the name of the show. I might be wrong. So it was a whole ass show, and they're getting deep, not deep enough where it's like, okay, I'm bored, but it was like they're getting deep. Like, all right, the contest was to cook different things with cannabis, so they give them different type of themes to go with, and they were allowed like a certain allotment of THC versus CBD, and they could run with it and just dump it all in, or like, pace it out. And because it was through 3 courses, and it's super fucking cool because in it they inserted education in it. Like they would, in these moments where they're doing just like B-roll, they throw in a little bit of education and stuff. And it was really tight. And I watched like a whole ass season of it, and I thought it was really entertaining, but also educational. And I think it helped put just the whole all of it in a good light. Like it shows it's like fun, and they like checked in on the reactions of the judges and stuff to, like, oh, how you feeling? He's like, oh, I'm ripped, like, and it was very notable people that were the judges. So I think it made it feel exactly like it's supposed to feel, whether you're like someone who doesn't like use cannabis a lot, or like whatever. Like, it's just fucking have a good time, man. Like, that's what it's about. Stop stressing. Even if you've never done it, this isn't like fucking some like deep dark like journey you're gonna have to go through. It's like, maybe it's the start of it, but like, start it. Like, just have some fun. That was what was cool about the show. It was just have fun. That's what it's about. And you can do it in different ways as well. And just don't go overboard. Because if I had a chef, I would have them cook me cannabis infused shit all the time.
Yeah,
All
we
the
make
time.
stuff all the time.
Oh no.
Like,
Yeah,
he
you're
had roast beef, sauteed onions, and
good.
butter. It was
Yeah, I made
we make our own tea. We make our own. What did you make?
I made a batch of hemp seed oil. And it's a little bit too strong. I have 1 teaspoon of this, and it's just like, holy shit. I must have slept for 8 hours. Like,
What?
I never sleep for 8 hours, ever. I sleep 4 or 5. That I was that was wild. There was it's really fun, but it's easy to mess up cooking.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy, because if you don't know the exact dosages, and it's very important that anybody who wants to cook using cannabis, even if you know how to cook and you know how to make the can of butter, you know how to make the can of oil, you know how to make those things, definitely you need to know you need to test plant beforehand, so that you know what temperature to cook it at, so that different cannabinoids burn off at different temperatures, right? Mm. So if it's really rich in THCA and it's got a whole bunch of CBD, or it has CBN, depending on which temperature you cook it at, it will burn off different cannabinoids or different terpenes. So it'll have different effects. The one that I made, super sedating, so there's a ton of CBN in it. I probably should have known exactly what I had put. I didn't measure it. Should have measured it. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that if I had to share any educational thing about cooking specifically, definitely know the actual composition of whatever cannabis strain you are going to prepare.
I think you got yourself a new product, a little sleep syrup. I'll take two jars.
Hey man, I mean it's one of those things. I had a retailer license when I worked with a company directly, so I ended up getting that one. But we do not have a product line. We're allowed to make it for ourselves. We're allowed to give it away for free. We are not allowed to transport. We're not allowed to do, we don't do any of that shit. So it's like, so that's where all the regulatory stuff comes into play, right? It's more or less like, okay, what can you and can't you do? And then you look at all these companies that are shipping Delta 8 THC things, and they're literally being sold at gas stations. And it's because so the Farm Bill was passed. And the Farm Bill essentially says that any hemp plant, not marijuana, hemp, is allowed to have up to 0.03% THC. That doesn't mean there's no THC. And hemp is a weed. It grows like a motherfucker. You drop seeds on the ground, it's going to grow. Might not be really good quality, but it's going to grow. So what a lot of these farms are doing is they are mass producing this. They are extracting the different molecules out of the hemp, and now they have legal weed. So it's a weird concept. It's like, okay, so if we're going to allow that, why is it not allowed in all forms? I really have, I personally have an issue with that. It makes no sense. It's like, okay, hold on. You're telling me we have a sustainable plant that'll grow in pretty much any condition, at least in North America, probably most of the continents on the planet, with a few exceptions maybe. And you have something that can replace textiles, is biodegradable, can replace plastic, still biodegradable. It can replace a lot of the chemicals in really harsh epoxies, really harsh paints, really harsh chemicals. It can replace a lot of those that we had to create in the absence of having something that could make it cheaply. This can do all of those things. It makes you scratch your head and wonder, why isn't it legal? How many patents would that fuck up? And it's like, okay, well, I'm not alone on this. There was a book that came out called The Emperor Wears No Clothes. That was, I forget exactly when it came out, but that was from, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, was Jack Herrera. And he was a massive cannabis advocate for most of his adult life and most of his early adult life. And he came up with a book that basically analyzes the plant itself as both a commodity, an emotional necessity, psychological necessity, all of these different aspects that the plant can serve. And I found a lot of it was very on point. I think that there was a couple of additional points that could have been added to it now that we have more education around the plant. I think that we're in a position where it really needs to be normalized. It really does. And it really needs to be the stigma of it must subside. It must. How do you think that content creation itself could assist in that process? And should it?
I think just making it more, putting it more, not doesn't have to be like forced, but just allowing it to be, in the shot, so to speak. Like the I think the channels, like the fact that you could, like, if you wanted to, you could smoke, per se on stream on Twitch or something like that. Stuff is definitely helping because that creates a community for that in itself, which there is a super tight 420 community on Twitch. I love it. So like that opens the door for more people to kind of peek in and stuff, a little more easier access for somebody to say, what, 420 streams? Because that shit, these guys, they're on some shit. I don't know. I don't even want to get into it. It's a whole other thing. But like that even, you know, there was a lot of learning when I did too. Like these, you know, this dude, he's getting ripped. But I started learning about, you know, like I guess like what is it like wax and things like that, and learning about that through watching them do all that and engage in that and stuff. So that was cool. It allows you to learn if you have the time and want to put the time into like exploring it instead of, you know, being afraid and just naysaying it. I think it allows people to express themselves and bring people in to see if they want to just take a chance and look.
That's actually a pretty good point. It's yeah, anybody who's on the fence, well, you can literally go see it. You can go see who's involved in that and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a really good point. The social aspect of that is a big point of it, I think. You know, it's there's been a ton of polls that have been done, and to be honest with you, I don't think I believe them. I don't think that I've never seen where their data set came from. No one asked me. So I'm sitting there like, well, why didn't you ask me? But a lot of the data sets show that more than 50% of people in North America approve of having cannabis legal in all forms. Most say regulated, some don't. Now, I mean, I look at something like the wine industry, for example. Prohibition didn't work for that. Didn't work for hard liquor, didn't work for any of that stuff. We've proven time and time again that prohibition does not. Yet we still tempt it, which is understandable if you have no other means of figuring out a solution to the problem. Now we've got something like AI. AI can solve that problem pretty quickly. You know, like that's not a complex problem for it to solve. The question is, you know, I seem to believe that I think that it's accurate to say that more than 50% of people think that it should not be illegal. Now, with all of the regulatory requirements and everything, where it makes it very difficult for a brand to partner with someone like AdamOnEarth. It makes it difficult. You know, some states allow it, some don't. Some allow it only on certain conditions, some don't at all. Some say, you know, it's all over the place. So if one of those kind of companies were to do that with the AdamOnEarth brand, what do you think that would look like if it were even allowed? And if it were, would you even want to do it?
Yeah. I think that I see myself cutting some really cool fucking content, endorsing somebody's pre-rolls, because I like to smoke pre-rolls, especially the short ones, just because they're compact and nice. And I'd sell people on it just like this. Like I'd be I'd be the Marlboro man of whatever whoever's pre-rolls.
Hell yeah.
That is for sure. That's what I would definitely that'd be my areas. I think that like something like a pre-produced product that is easy for on the go, just being on the go. And
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. I would love to snag like a pre-roll endorse. So that in itself, you know, you could do many things with that.
I think so. And see, I really think that sort of building a relationship between content creation and the cannabis industry, I think it's kind of required at this stage. The question is, how do you do it and make sure that the content itself is being viewed by the appropriate audience? Because you can't, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to drop it on Twitch? That's tough, man. You can't. I mean, how many kids are on there? You can't. But it's like, okay, can you do it on YouTube? They have YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
You know, that's a restricted platform. It's made for kids. So the other thing is, you know, I don't know. Are there any restrictions about like alcohol on Twitch? Are you allowed to drink alcohol on Twitch?
Yeah, you can. I think it's just not supposed to be, you can't like, I've seen streamers gamify it, but I think you're not really supposed to like gamify, excessive drinking in itself. I think that's
Right.
one of the
Right. So no hosting beer pong tournaments where everybody's falling over each other.
Yeah, and I think you can still, get away with that. I think it's more to the degree of like $5 for like every $5 I'll drink a shot, kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So they said a couple of hey man, that's not safe. Don't do that.
Yeah, I'm sure like throwing a fucking live at a kegger, where everyone's like it's no holds barred probably wouldn't be good either. But
Right.
Can I ask you what your favorite strain was?
oh yeah, favorite stream.
Strain.
Your favorite strain of cannabis?
Strain. I think now I've been sativa.
Any kind of sativa?
Yeah. There was this, I don't know if it was sativa. There was a specific one though. I don't remember the name of it. It's like I think it might be like lemon haze or something like that. And it smells like citrus like crazy.
Yep.
That one's been one of the ones I don't really like, because I don't really run across it unless I'm like buying from like a dispensary. And it's just really just random, I'll just hear the name of it. That one, I want it. Like otherwise I'm just, it's just good, that smell, and just it's just nice.
Find it very interesting that the biggest determining factor that you have mentioned in that is the smell.
Yeah.
So there is studies that are actually being done currently trying to figure out how the nose is able to detect which cannabis strain is correct based on that person's physiology.
That might be a thing.
Yeah, that might be a thing. There's different cannabinoids, there's different terpenes, and the body has developed over millennia that the ability to perceive what they enjoy. You smell something cooking, you say, that. Why? Is it because you need the nutrients? Is it because the composition of the molecules that are floating through the air show that is something that your body is craving at that time? That maybe that there's something in that food that your body is telling you, yeah, I need that. And I find it very interesting how many people have said exactly what you just did, which is smelled it and I wanted it. Right? That's what happens with food.
Yeah.
So it becomes we did an interview a little while ago with a company called Gibby's Garden. Awesome people. And one of the things that the owner said, Kim Gibson, said to us was that she believes that the cannabis plant should be more viewed as a nutrient instead of, I guess anything else. And I thought
that's a good way to look at it.
I thought that was super interesting. It was like, wow, that's, of course. You smell it like you smell food that's cooking, and your body says, yeah, I want that. You smell cannabis, and you get the same reaction. It's a slightly different way of having that reaction, but it's still that same reaction.
It's a nutrient for the mind.
Isn't that wild?
I like that.
And probably in the body too, surely. But it definitely does some shit for the mind.
Yeah.
Same with mushrooms. Nutrients come from the earth.
Yeah, they do. Weird how the universe works, isn't it?
There you go. Yeah, I feel like I could see if this whole shit was all just disjointed and sold as this misconstrued like bullshit story to us. I could see like with that nutrient thing, I could see like the weed and the mushrooms like that across the world. You know, like I could see it as like it being like some like when we can't. This might sound weird, but when we can't feel like cats, we can use that like. And like I say that because like I saw this video of a wild, it was like a fucking panther or something in the wild, and it climbed this tree that was hanging over like a swampy area, and it pounced on a fucking alligator. Like who does that? You're like you have to be in some. I feel like you have to be in some weird headspace to just be like, yeah, I'm literally that hungry, and I'm gonna just do this. This is like the craziest thing I could do. Like I feel like animals and especially cats exist in this weird space where they just like, yeah, I'm free, I'm doing whatever the fuck I want, you know. let's you know, but like humans on the other hand, we're like so like at times, you know, we're so anxious and bogged down by everything fucking going around and shit. Weed, at least for me, definitely makes me kind of just, I've seen some crazy shit happen, and when I'm high I'm just like, I'm actually blessed to be here because I'm getting a great show, and I just sit and watch some crazy shit. You know, like sometimes I'll do some really crazy shit when I'm ripped. Is like, that's awesome. I feel like a superhuman right now.
I like that.
Yeah.
You wake up the next day feeling good.
Yeah, that's one key determining factor, folks. If you didn't know, weed doesn't give you a hangover. Just throwing that out there. Just throw.
Yeah.
So here's a unique question, just based on my own interests. So forgive me on this one. But it says, do you think the content creation industry can better support and collaborate with research and scientific organizations in the cannabis community to spread a better awareness to alleviate some of the stigmas that exist?
Yeah, I think they could. I don't think they will until it benefits them more. Like I could see like maybe I have this like fear that like the cigarette companies are gonna start putting like a little bit of like, you know, like weed in their shit, and they're gonna have this off brand like, and then they're gonna start caring about like, oh, this is good for you, you know, let's get the science involved, you know. Like I feel like until it starts really benefiting corps to really do it, and they have their hand on it, and they have the money to really put it in people's faces, like outside of what's already being done, then it's gonna be like this big thing. Like obviously there's people that are, you know, but it's more of a community based thing. It's not like, you're not the same, you know, as like, I guess, you know, even with like drinking and smoking cigs, like we know the science of that, and people still do it. And there's nothing wrong with that in moderation, you know, but like we know the science enough to like make the decision that, yeah, this is chill, I'll do it every now and again. Whereas for those whatever waning amount of people that don't, are just absolutely afraid of cannabis, and like it's not a matter of they just don't care to do it, they just like are afraid and they might benefit. I feel like that demographic is like not being reached out to, you know, like to just be like, check it out, it'll be good for you. And it's probably because it probably be good for them, you know. Like it's not like a fucking, you know, it's not a pill, you know, it's not a pharmaceutical, you know, like regulated pill. That's why it's that's what's quote unquote good for everybody, but not that. So I don't know. I don't think they'll ever like put effort into it until it benefits on a scale of, you know, like making money for somebody else, not just because they care. It continues to be community based because of that.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think I think that part of the disconnect between scientific research, all the data studies, and all different things, is the complexity of them as they are perceived by society as a whole. And when you really break it down, a lot of these things are very straightforward, but they don't appear that way. So then all of a sudden, the only coverage that these studies get is through media outlets, and people are on the fence if they even trust the media at all. So even if the information that's being given to them is accurate and it's from an actual scientific study, the first thought is, oh yeah, who paid for that one? Oh yeah, well, where did that study come from? Okay, well, what company were they vested in? All those different things come to mind almost every single piece of content that we consume online nowadays. And the cool thing about content creators such as yourself is there's none of that filter there, because it's like, okay, this is who you're talking to. You get on there, you're on the camera, you're talking, someone asks you a question just like we did, and you get an answer, and it's more or less direct. So I think that a lot of these research centers and these data scientists and all these different people that are really into the research side of things really need to connect with content creators. They need to do that. They need to create an environment where good data is out there. I think that journalism has expanded well beyond traditional media at this point. I think it would be. I think that something like that could be pretty beneficial, especially in a scenario of cannabis, because having more, good or bad, it wouldn't matter as long as it's trustworthy. It's like, okay, this data scientist talked directly to this content creator. They're really good at data. They're really good at sharing information. That trust can be built through that, where it's tough through media. It's really tough through traditional media.
I get you.
So it's I think it could work personally. It'd be weird to see that work. What do you think about? What do you think that could also happen with the healthcare industry?
I think that's I was gonna say. It has to. That's the where it would do the best. It would do the best if it was like, hey, maybe consider getting a little high. It might ease. It might ease your anxiety or whatever the fuck. Like using it. There's plenty of applications. For whatever. Like even my mom is using some. Like in a way. So like, I think if they did it that way, that's the best way to use the data to reinforce on, people that are just on the fence about something that can help them, but they're just so used to in the past the stigmas around it. That would help them ease, their apprehensions to then give something a shot, just the same as someone will take, any other random drug that a doctor would prescribe, take a shot with that. Like just they would know everything they need to know, and be well educated. And if they're not, I'm pretty sure that not everyone researches, like, oh, what's the fucking composition of Adderall when they take it? No stabs at people who take Adderall, but you know what I mean? Like, why are you so worried about fucking cannabis then? So like, at least the information will be presented to them, and otherwise take the advice, because that's what we do with lots of other things, like we don't really like when you take Tylenol. How many people get that really fucking worried about taking Tylenol? Because you trust that they did the research for you. So like will be the same with cannabis.
A lot of content creators focus on wellness. I think cannabis alongside other treatment options.
Yes. God damn it, yes. I've been doing my own little experiments with humans I interact with. Like I've gotten a lot of people from someone who was like, I wasn't really afraid of cannabis and such. I didn't know it had a place in my life until I started embracing it a little more and more and more and more. But I've gotten a lot of people at least moving on the wagon to integrating it into their life. And it seems like that's the best that can be done, because otherwise, you don't know, like they might not be able to, like, find the use in it, or like, allow it to like help them in deeper ways. But the fact that you get them there, that's good, because they're gonna get really high, and they're gonna fucking probably at least once in that experience sit and think, and that's good, because then they could maybe start moving in a direction to like, oh, this makes me feel good, check in with themselves, and really just decide, like, and think about how they feel. And most of the time, I'm just sure that my friends were sitting there like smiling and laughing, and like when you connect that to a physical thing, how can you not fall in love with that if it makes you feel good? And like, and it's not hurting anybody, like, and there's so many other ways to like to engage in it, like you could be eating an ice cream sundae, which automatically is an awesome experience, while also while also engaging, and that's double the fun. So like, it's like, just have some fun and relax. But I think it's done a lot for me, and I personally have seen it do a lot for someone that was close to me that was on the fence about it, because I know there is this, it feels like it's either got you really happy or it's got you fucking anxious. I know I've talked to a lot of people where they struggle with that anxiety that often comes with, in different ways of, engaging in cannabis and such. So, but I've seen it firsthand, I think, do wonders, and also the just like the effects of removing it and trying to rely on like just like modern medicine, to have all the answers. And I personally saw a drastic difference, and that's for me with someone that I was around every goddamn day, and all we really were doing was smoking weed and playing video games and having a good time, but it's also, I feel like, what comes from it too, like you connect all that together, and then you start to go on a journey of like, oh, I had the best time of my life, when I smoked with like, a person I enjoyed spending time with, and then it takes you a whole nother process of like, think about it, like that's what it does to you. And it will do the same when you're by yourself. You just got to be welcome to it. Cause I'm very sure it, like, just in closing, sorry, like, if you go into if you go onto a like if you go into a car, right, and you keep telling yourself this is going to be the worst ride of my life, it might be. But if you go into the car and say this is going to be a great experience, I'm going to see so many different things, there is a risk, but it's going to be great, you're going to feel better about it. I think that's how people got to go into cannabis.
Yeah, I agree. How do you think the content creation industry can better support and collaborate with small businesses and independent creators in the cannabis industry?
I would love to see, yeah, I think I would love to see, it may even be a part of like dispensaries, um that have reasonable prices, working with like creators, in this short form content. I think would be the best, and I'm sure there are some that do, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say that I probably like 30 to 40% of it might be a little cheesy. And so I'd like to see something that's a little bit more like, relax, like really just, we're just people, like, whether, just, it's not, this isn't an ad, it's really casual, just like, just super chill content, and maybe even having specific creators that already are established, like in, let's say, like Instagram reels, that's what they do, is they just find ways to integrate, the dispensary and or their products into their just daily content, like,
Right.
where it's like, okay, cooking breakfast, and I got, my grinder, from the dispensary, like, I want to be a part of this, like that's how I would do it, I guess. And I think that'd be the best way, because it makes it more normal. It makes it normalized, just as much as you pull the milk out of the fridge. Yes, just as much as I brush my teeth, I fucking smoke weed. That is for certain. And I look at it just the same. It's not like a extra thing. It's part of your daily like lifestyle habits. And that's how I think if content creators presented it that way, it would do two things. It would integrate the products, the brands, or whatever they're promoting, and then also help normalize it in a whole.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Do you have any personal hobbies or anything outside of music and content creation?
Getting high. Next question. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you like hiking, right?
I do, yeah. Yeah. I won't say where, but well, you know, but I moved away, so I
Sure.
don't have hiking anymore. So
Oh, there's no spots out there.
oh hell no.
Bummer, man.
Oh.
Yeah, like by hiking, it's walking in nature. It's not, like out here.
Yeah, I know what you
that's just, I appreciate nature, so there's that, but I don't want to just go on a flat walk. I like it. It's so much more. It's like a hike to me feels like I'm in my brain. I'm not doing a lot of work, but really I am doing so much. My body's doing so much work, and that's great because it's like by the time you're down the mountain, and I look at my fucking watch, and it's like 3,000 calories burned, like, and I haven't even eaten breakfast. I'm like, dude, this is the way to stay lean. That's what I learned. Like, this is how fucking like society construct humans stayed fit. They weren't like, oh man, I gotta go pump some iron and go run around. They just did natural things, and they just fucking stayed in shape. And that's what I like, because I do not really have much fun like going out of my way to stay healthy. I like the more natural feel,
Yep.
It sucks because it's almost like they did this to us. Why do like I was born into this weird ass society where I fucking got to do all this bullshit. I should be able to have the freedom to just go run a lap around a lake. I can't do that. That should be my birthright. And now I have to go to a goddamn Planet Fitness and pay fucking X amount of dollars a month when I should just be naturally getting healthy from my daily processes. Bullshit.
I have totally thought that before.
Yeah. It's on some, that's on some high shit. You're just like,
Yeah. They're all drinking the punch.
yeah.
So true. So we don't want to keep you. I know you got another thing going on pretty soon here. So I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
do you have any final thoughts, comments about content creation, cannabis, the music industry, all of it? Whatever you got.
I think that if there's any companies listening, I'd be a great poster boy for some of these ideas I've been spitting, because these came out on the spot, and that sounds kind of fun. So yeah, I might have to write some things down and pitch to some companies. That's probably my final thought, honestly.
Like, we know a lot of them.
Yeah, let me know. That's
Yeah.
my ending plug.
Yeah, right on. I dig it, man. Adam, thank you so much
That was so
for having this
awesome.
chat.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Stoked, man.